Hey, Jason Rivera here, realtor with Ameritrust Realty. Today, I want to talk about rising interest rates. A lot of clients, people asking me about interest rates and wondering if they should buy now, should they sell now, are getting worried if they can buy, if the interest rates rise, what they should do. Getting a lot of questions like this, so I wanted to answer all those questions and more on this short video. Yes, interest rates are rising. I believe I read the other day that in terms of mortgage rates, they're at a 4 or 5 year high, something along those lines, is what the article said. Some people are freaking out, wondering, again, kind of the questions we already went over. So I'll just kind of run them down one by one. Should you sell now if you're worried about interest rates? Depends on your situation. If you've been thinking about selling for a while and you're looking to get out of your house before interest rates rise a lot and buyers go away, you should probably sell now, because interest rates are still going to continue to most likely rise for the foreseeable future. They've been at historically abnormal lows for years now. They've been deflated to the point and manipulated by the Federal Reserve, federal government, and governments around the world, frankly. And they are kind of getting back to a more normalized, at least in terms of historical norms, range. So in that case, you probably should consider selling. If you're a buyer, should you buy now? Again, if you've been thinking about buying now and you're ready to get pre-qualified, you have all your finances in order, you have really good credit, or you have decent credit, decent to really good credit, and you kind of want to lock in a lower interest rate, yes, you probably should buy now, because again, interest rates are going to rise. Most likely over time, unless there's some kind of recession or something that happens that is pretty much unforeseeable. Should you look to buy that potential investment property now? If you're looking either multifamily, commercial, single family, whatever it is, should you look to buy now? Again, possibly yes. If you've been thinking about it for a while and kind of the same things as the other buyers, yes. If you want to probably lock in at a lower interest rate, again, unless some kind of recession happens, interest rates are going to rise kind of back to norms. So I've said that kind of for pretty much every answer. So what are norms? And why are people freaking out about these interest rates rising to the highest levels they've been in years? Again, to me, 4.5 interest rates, yes, they're higher than the 3.5 to 4 interest rates we've seen for almost 10 years now, since the Great Recession. Those are historically, those numbers are a historical anomaly. Again, they've been manipulated lower to increase people buying whatever it is, getting loans, buying homes, whatever it is. They've been manipulated lower, and they're kind of getting back to historical normals. So those interest rates, again, unless some kind of major recession, depression happens again relatively soon, those aren't normal. Just because we've dealt with them for the last 5 to 10 years doesn't mean those are normal. We're getting kind of back in the normal range now, and we're still on the historically low end of the interest rate range. Back in the 70s and 80s, they were 8, 10, 12% interest rates. Those, again, are the high end of kind of the historical norm. Typically, interest rates over the years have been between pretty much 5 and 7%, kind of that range. So we're kind of getting back more to normalized interest rates. Why are we doing that? Again, kind of the manipulation and all that from the Great Recession is ending, but also people, the federal government, Federal Reserve, are worried about inflation. So they're rising interest rates to kind of slow down the economy a little bit so inflation doesn't get out of control. And valuations on public stocks. Why are they doing that? Valuations. I read an article several months ago that said valuations across the board, across the world, for real estate, public stock markets, and there was a third one that I can't remember. Real estate, public stock markets, and I can't remember the third one. Are at their highest levels they've been. Valuations are at the highest levels they've been since the 1900s. Or since the early 1900s. So, what they're trying to do is they're trying to slow down the economy by rising interest rates, so we don't have what they call a hard crash, which is essentially recession or depression. That's essentially what they're trying to do. Will it work? I don't know. But again, if you're thinking about buying or thinking about selling and you're worried about interest rates rising, you probably should consider buying or selling whatever it is, single family home, investment property, commercial property, whatever you're thinking about considering buying, you probably should consider buying it now. Again, unless there's some kind of recession or depression, excuse me, in a short time period, interest rates are going to continue to rise back to kind of more normalized rates. There are programs out there like USDA Rural Development Financing, which you can get a 0% interest rate if you qualify. There are standards you have to qualify for. You can only make a certain amount of money. You have to have certain credit scores. You have to have things like that to qualify for that program, and you have to be what is deemed by the federal government a rural area. Right here in the Tampa area where we're at, I'm in the South Shore area of Tampa, so pretty much where I live, Ruskin, Waimama, parts of Riverview. I don't think Apollo Beach qualifies. I'm not sure. I don't think Gibsonton qualifies. But down here, specifically in Ruskin, they're building properties, developments everywhere. So if you're looking in this area, you could possibly, again, if you meet the criteria, you could qualify for this. I have a mortgage broker who I work with who's fantastic, who works with these programs, this and the other programs I'm going to talk about, who could help you get into a loan if you are looking to buy, or if you're looking to sell and then buy another home. He can get you pre-qualified and set that all up, and he's a straight shooter. He doesn't mess around with facts or anything. He tells you yes or no, can I afford this? Yes or no, what you can afford. Those kind of things. He's a straight shooter, trustworthy guy. He's a great guy. So another program that is out there right now is FHA. 2.5% to 3.5% interest rates typically. Again, there are some standards. They are not as stringent as the
Lyft. Did Uber begin to experiment with other transaction types, such as Uber Rush?
They're not as stringent as the USDA Rural Development Financing because it's not specifically a government-run program. But again, same kind of things, certain credit scores, certain income levels, those kind of things. And again, my mortgage broker can help with that. There's also VA financing, which is fantastic if you're a former military member or you have a military member in your family. For example, this started a couple years after my dad retired, but if it would have started when he was in the military still, if my dad was in the military still, my wife and I could have bought a home based on his kind of VA standing. Or a lot of people down here use multi-gen homes. My wife and I, and my parents included, are thinking about doing a multi-gen home, and we could possibly use his VA loan to finance the loan since he is a former retired military member. Again, typically very low interest rates, sometimes zero. Again, same things other than the veteran requirement is credit scores, just kind of the normal stuff, income levels, all that kind of stuff. And there's also one other thing you could do if you're looking to sell and you're worried about interest rates. When I bought my house, this was before I became an agent. When my wife and I bought my house, we got what is considered an assumable interest rate. What does that mean? It means if we go to sell the house, we can have the person who buys our house, I think we got the 3.75 or 3.85 interest rate, somewhere around there. So it's a really incredibly low interest rate. And the reason I specifically asked about it is because my background is finance and investment, so I knew the interest rates were going to rise at some point. So I wanted an assumable interest rate loan. Again, what does that mean? That means if me and my wife wanted to sell a house to somebody, they could assume, if they meet the bank's criteria and the mortgage broker's criteria, whatever the criteria there is, through their lender, if they meet their criteria through our lender and their lender, and we can work out some kind of deal, or the two parties, the two banks can work out a deal, two lenders, can work out a deal, they can assume our interest rate. So what does that mean? That means not only potentially that people, if we wanted to sell our house, we could possibly charge a higher amount because we could guarantee them a very low interest rate, especially if interest rates continue to rise. And you might be able to do the same thing. That's something, again, my mortgage broker can help figure out for you, and we can figure out for you if you have an assumable loan or assumable interest rate, things like that. But again, so if you're thinking about buying or selling, whatever the case is, there are a ton of options. And there's even another one. There's in this area, specifically the South Shore area where I live and where I work the most, is they're building new developments everywhere. So if you want a brand new home, a lot of these developers, Lennar, D.R. Horton, David Weekley, Ryan Homes, all these developers and home builders, they offer incentives many times to new home buyers, that especially me and my firm, Ameritrust Realty, and our broker, Scott Thompson, we have great relationships with all the builders around here. So if you're looking for a new home, that's another area where we could potentially help you get not only because of our great relationships, get you a great deal, but they also offer many great incentives to help people get into homes. And there's another thing, the Hillsborough County Bond Program, where you can qualify up to $10,000 in money, which essentially would be for things like closing costs. Generally is what that covers. But you can qualify for a $10,000 bond if you are looking in the Hillsborough County area. There are a ton of different programs out there, a ton of different ways that if you're looking to buy or sell, that you can get in or out of your property, even with interest rates rising. So to me, interest rates right now aren't a huge deal, and they won't be for a very long time. They're not going to raise interest rates tomorrow to 6 or 7%, which is what some people think might happen. They're not going to do that. So interest rates being 4.5%, yes, they're higher than they have been, but they still housing market's still healthy. Still a great time to buy, especially a great time to sell if you're looking to sell, because there's such a low inventory right now, countrywide, not even just region-wide or area-wide, like the Tampa, Florida area where we're at, but nationwide. Inventory levels are incredibly low, meaning typically you can get a higher price if you're looking to sell now than you might in the past, because there's more buyers than there are sellers. So if you have any questions, would like to see if you can qualify for any of the programs I mentioned, would like a free home or evaluation of your property, give me a call at 813-534-0421, 813-534-0421, or email me at jasonrivera@ameritrustrealty.com, jasonrivera@ameritrustrealty.com, JASONRIVERA, the @ symbol, AMERITRUSTREALTY.com. Excuse me, Jason Rivera at AmeritrustUSA.com. AMERITRUSTUSA.com. And I will answer any and all of your questions and help you in any way I can. Again, I can get you with my mortgage broker, is fantastic, and I can look to buy or help you buy a home, a brand new home, or an older home, or an established home, or we can even look to sell your home. I can do a valuation of your property. Whatever you're looking for, I can help you. So please give me a call, 813-534-0421. And I look forward to talking to you and helping you soon. Thanks. Bye.